Okay, today I want to talk about FTP server in Linux. What we're going to do in this demonstration is install a VSFTPD, or a Very Secure FTP daemon, which is not the client but is the server for FTP, and we're going to run that in CentOS 6. I've got a VM here of CentOS 6. It's running on my system. And then I've got another client here, VM, that's running out on the system, which is a Windows 7 Ultimate client. And we're going to be testing the VSFTP server on that client once we get it set up and running. In preparation for this demonstration, what I've done several things. I have established an Apache web server running in Linux on CentOS 6. I've created 2 user accounts, one Einstein, one Tesla, and I've given Einstein and Tesla user web spaces by modifying a configuration file in Apache web server. I've also gone into the Linux firewall and I've flushed the tables for Linux, and I have saved that particular configuration using the service command, service IP tables save, so that it is permanently saved as flushed, and so it will survive a reboot here if I have to reboot the machine. I've also gone in, since CentOS has something called SE Linux, which is the security enhanced Linux. It is usually enforcing, and I did determine that it was enforcing, so I made it permissive. And then I also went into the configuration for SE Linux and I made it permanently permissive, so that if I do need to reboot this machine, it will be permissive when it comes up. So I've done those 2 things, and I've also changed the permissions on the user folders for Einstein and Tesla, given them 755, which is read, write, and execute for the owner. Read and execute for the group, and read and execute for other on both of those, which then is also the same permissions rather for the public _ HTML folder and the index.html file within it, so that the user web spaces can be touched from the outside on the Windows 7 Ultimate machine. I'm going to show you that, demonstrate that to you. I'm getting on the Windows 7 machine right now, and the IP address of this CentOS 6 Linux VM is 192.168.142.169, and we can show that running an ifconfig command in the terminal, which I did. So I issued an HTTP : and this IP address in the Mozilla Firefox web browser here, and it pulled up the Apache 2 test page that you can see here, and that's normal. That's what we expect to see. In addition to that, I have issued the same HTTP command in the browser, and then followed the IP address with a / Einstein, which is one of the accounts for the user. And as you can see here, it did pull up Einstein's homepage in Einstein's user web space. And then lastly, I did the same by replacing ~Einstein with ~Tesla, and that did pull up Tesla's user web space as well. So we've tested that the HTTP daemon or the Apache web server is running, up and running and functioning. So what we're going to do in this demonstration now is we're going to set up VSFTP. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fire up the terminal again. And I'm going to bring it up to full screen so we can get it up. And VSFTPD is currently not installed, so we're going to go ahead and install that. So I'm going to use the yum command, install, and we are logged in as root here, as you can see. So yum install and VSFTPD. Okay. All right, so it's telling us that it's going to download one package, 157K, so I'm going to say yes to that. and it is installing the Very Secure FTP daemon right now. It has finished that. So let's go ahead and run the service command that Red Hat command so we can look at the status of this server. So let's run service vsftpd status, and it's telling us that it is stopped, so I'm going to go ahead and start it. Okay, and so the VSFTP server is currently started, or it's starting rather. Let's go ahead and verify that by running another status on that. And it is saying that it is running. Okay, so that is up and running now. And so what we want to do here, though, is we want to make that permanent in case we need to restart this machine for some reason. So to do that, we need to issue the check config vsftpd on. Alright, so that turns it on permanently, and in case we need to reboot this machine, once it reboots, the FTP server will start up by default on reboot, just like the Apache web server does now as well. Alright, so we have it up and running. Now what we need to do is we need to go to the location where the VSFTP server has its configuration file. So let's run the change directory. Etsy is the location where it's going to be. That's where all the configuration files are for Linux for the most part. And then VSFTPD is should be the directory. So let's pull that up, and so let's run a listing of that directory and see what we have. And it shows us that we have basically the FTP users file. We have a user underscore list file, and we have the vsftpd.conf, which is the configuration file. That's the one we're really interested in right now. So let's go ahead, before we do anything with that file, let's go ahead and copy that file. So let's do a cp vsftpd.conf, and let's copy it out to sftpd.conf.original as a backup. So we have a backup now. Let's go ahead and verify we have that backup in place, and it does show us that we do have the backup right here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and modify the vsftpd.conf file. So I'm going to run vim vsftpd.conf, and let's open that up, and let me come down here and let's take a look at this file. It says that anonymous is enabled here. Normally what you would think is you just need to put a hashtag in front of it or a pound sign to comment out that line, but if you'll read this line, it says allow anonymous FTP, beware, allowed by default if you comment this out. So if we comment out this line, it's going to be enabled anyway. So what we need to do instead is come over here and change the yes to a no. Okay? And now let's come on down. It says local enable is yes, write enable is yes. Let's keep going here and take a look at the rest of this file. And for the most part, everything that's we need to do with this file at the moment is completed. So let's escape it and right quit the file. And let's go ahead and now let's get into the user list. So let's do a vim on user underscore list and take a look at this file. Now this particular file is a little counterintuitive. You would think that a user underscore list file would be a list that would allow users to access the Very Secure FTP daemon server. That is not the case here. In this particular case, you have to be careful when you're modifying this file, because depending on how you have it set up with these two statements right here, if user list denies no or if user list denies yes, it makes a difference whether they can access the server or not. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the if user list deny no, and which means that it will only allow users in this file. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to eliminate all these users that are in here. I do not want to allow these users to access the contents. Or access the the FTP server. Okay, so let's go ahead and eliminate these users. Okay, and that's if user list denies no, that means it's only going to allow users we put in here. Now I have two users out there, as I mentioned. I've got Einstein and Tesla. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow Tesla to access the FTP server with the username and password that I've given him earlier when I set up the Apache web server, but I'm not going to allow Einstein in here. So the one name that's on this list will, if I use the user list underscore deny equals no, in the configuration file, will tell the configuration file to allow Tesla, not to allow Einstein. So let's go ahead and escape that and right quit this file. Alright, and so now let's go back to the, let's do a vim on the vsftpd .conf file. And I think I mistyped it, and so let me go back. Okay, we're going to run the vim on vsftpd. I had swapped two letters. I had vsfpt. That's not going to work. So let's run that. All right. So we're back in this file, and so now let's come down to the end of the file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a line here at the end of the file, and that line is going to be user list underscore deny equals no. All right, which is going to tell the configuration file for FTP server to look at the user list and deny equals no, which means allow any user that's on that list, which we of course showed you earlier is Tesla, will be allowed, and Einstein will not be allowed. So let's escape that and let's do a right quit on the file. All right, so now we need to restart the FTP server. So let's do a service vsftpd restart, since we modified the configuration file. And it restarted for us. So now we should be able to go out on the Windows machine here. The permissions and everything, and the firewall is out of the way, SE Linux is out of the way, so we should be ready to take a look at this. Rather than do it in the browser, I think I'm going to do initially here. Let's see, let me go out onto computer, bring that up, close the browser for a moment, and let me just do an FTP command here, so that we have FTP : //192.168.142.169, I believe was the IP address on that FTP server, and this would mean that anonymous is enabled if we get anything here. Okay, I did some quick checking here in CentOS and discovered that the IP address changed on me while I was working here in this demonstration. It's now 192.168.142.170. So let's go back out to the Windows 7 machine, and let me get back into computer, and let me run that FTP command again. FTP : //192.168.142.170, and let's go ahead and issue that. It's telling us that Windows cannot access the folder, and that's because we turned anonymous off, and that's a good thing. So that means that you can't log in anonymously to this FTP server. So let's go ahead and see if we can get Einstein logged in. So let's do an FTP : //Einstein at 192.168.142.170, and if this works out the way it should, Einstein should not be able to log in because we did not allow him to do that in the user list. So let's see what we get. It says it could not log him in either. And then let's go ahead and see if Tesla can log in. And so let's bring that over here, and let's type in Tesla at 192.168.142.170. And it brings up the box to log Tesla in. And so let's go ahead and put in the password for Tesla. And log in. And that was the password I thought. Let me try it again. Alright, I'd forgotten the password for Tesla, so I went back out to the Linux box here, and I issued a password change request here on the terminal for Tesla, and changed Tesla's password to password lowercase. So now let's go back out here to the box, to the Windows 7 machine rather, and let's go ahead and type in that FTP command again. Tesla at 192.168.142.170, and should bring up a dialog box asking us for a password, and let me put in that password now and log in. And it does get us to the public_HTML folder, and if we double click on that, there's the index.html file. And if we right click and open that, it should launch the browser and show us the web page that we had, which is good, and so that means that's working fine. And one of the things that I did want to do, let's see, I want to take and drag the index.html file out to the desktop here. And I'm going to copy it out there. And so let me open that with Notepad. And let's go ahead, and this is the file that we had originally, if you recall. I'm going to go ahead and let's do format word wrap, and let me add something to it so we know that we've modified it. Let me do a break here. This file has been modified. Alright, and so let's go ahead and save that file. And now what I want to do now is see if I can FTP it back up to the public_HTML folder of Tesla just by dragging it in there. And it's, let me get this out of the way, and I'm going to say yes here. And so that's modified that file by overwriting the file when I FTP'd it up. And so that worked fine. And so now what I want to do is let me go back and go back to computer, or actually let me open up the browser, and let's access that file from the browser. Alright, so that's 19 FTP / Tesla at 192.168.142.170, and let's put in a password of password and click OK. And I'm going to say no here, never remember, and let's go back into the index.html file, and it does say this file has been modified. So the FTP upload to worked fine to the public_HTML folder using FTP here as well. So the FTP server is up and running and working the way it should. We showed you how to install the VSFTPD, and then how to go about configuring the necessary files in the VSFTPD or daemon in order to prevent one user from accessing the FTP server while allowing another user access to that server as well. So this has been a demonstration of that. Have a nice day.